Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Donna Adelson. The sentencing of a lifetime. Well, anyway, guys. Harvey. He spoke in court today, and it wasn't good. He put down everybody. You name it. He put them down. And then he said to the judge, "Don't take my money." He blamed the jurors. He blamed the judge. You've taken my wife and you've ended my life. Yeah. Well, the judge had to stop him several times. Called upon Donna's defense team. You know, obviously, this defense team, Jackie especially, obviously didn't read his statements, or did they? They just didn't give a damn. It was their chance to speak, but the problem is it's supposed to have been emotional forgiveness and things like that, and what she has achieved in a lifetime, and get the feeling and let them know, let the judge know you are talking to the judge. He is the one that you have to convince that your wife should have a lesser sentence. Yeah, well, it went down badly because he, put the judge down. And that's a no-no. You must not put the judge down. You must get the judge on your side. Yeah. Well, there was a doctor. He is friends with them, and he said that he thinks Donna is innocent, and he said his piece, and push, that it just wasn't good. And there was a few other statements that were read out by Jackie, the defense lawyer. Well, these people believe in Donna's innocence, and that they've never heard her say a bad word about anybody. My God. Really? Well, she's not going to tell you how she really feels, is she, about somebody? That would be silly, wouldn't it? Especially she got plans on ending his life if he doesn't do what she tells him to do, like move to Miami. Yeah. Or commute back and forth to Tallahassee. You haven't beat the Adelsons yet. Yeah. Bribe him with $1 million. And of course, she called him a bunch of names and everything. And she never liked him. She never liked him. She never liked him from day one. He was picked for a reason. He was picked because of his status. He was a lawyer. He was a good one. And he was very smart. She paired him up with her daughter, Wendy, spelt with an I. And it started off on the wedding day. That didn't go down so well, did it? So, quickly, Wendy, have kids with him. That's all you need. You need to have a couple of kids with him. You'll be all set. His brains and your brains together. We'll have geniuses. Kind of like that. But anyway, she didn't like him from the get-go. Even Wendy said she didn't like him. She didn't love him. This wasn't the man that she would have picked. And it just shows you. The deceit and lies. But anyway, Donna says she wants to talk. We knew that would happen. Listen, Donna had her chance to get on the stand and try to convince or put any doubt in the juror's mind about her innocence. And she chose not to. She had hours to make up her mind. She had a whole night to think about it. She had the rest of the day. She had a lunch break. She had 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes. And in the end, the judge says, you got to make a decision now. Are you taking the stand or not? I haven't had enough time. She had more than enough time. More than enough time to talk to her lawyers and make up her mind. But anyway, she wants to take the stand. Well, not take the stand, but she wants to speak on her behalf. And she says, and I don't want to be sworn in. And they're like, I don't know. Defense? And they have to state the law. To why she does not need to be sworn in by law. In the end, the judge says, go ahead, read your statement out. And boy, she started out. I loved Danny, my son-in-law. And he was brutally murdered by some gangsters. And she goes on to detail, step by step, like we needed to hear that. I mean, this isn't supposed to be well, what I'm trying to say is she's supposed to be fighting for her life here, begging the judge for less time. Try to convince the judge something. Convince him that you are very sad and you do have emotions and you do feel remorse about what's happening without, saying you're guilty. And, well, it was a flop. It was far from it. She details Danny's last moment that he didn't even know it was coming. He woke up that morning like any other day. Take his children to the daycare. He didn't know that was going to be his last day. He then goes to the gym And he was working out, and he didn't know that was going to be his last day. He drives home, not knowing his life was going to end any moment. What fear he had when he see that gun. And he even lived that little while. And those men that brutally murdered him. You know, she kind of went into detail like that. You know, like step by step, the events. I don't know why she said it like that. It was really crazy. But anyway, like, no, Donna, you're not really supposed to be talking like that. You're supposed to be using your time saying that you were a loving mother. You know, your kids are well educated, and you were a mother that spent time with her children, teaching them, putting them through school. They were worth every minute of my time. I had a part-time job when they get a little older. I worked for the business. You know, she did mention that she's never had a parking ticket. And so you, Judge, you must let me out. I've never had a parking ticket. I've never had a speeding ticket, shall I say. So let me out now. You know, I deserve it. I deserve a second chance. I deserve a second chance. I did not do it. You haven't proven to me. The jury must have been sleeping. They must have been sleeping through this trial. I didn't have nothing to do with it. My God. But your son's in prison, and his ex-girlfriend is in prison, and they all said it was, well, Katie and Lewis said it was Wendy. She hasn't been indicted or yet. She hasn't. That's the daughter that was the ex-wife of Dan Markel. She's a unindicted conspirator. Yep. Yet to be charged yet. And maybe they won't. Maybe they will. We have yet to see any twinkle of that happening this year. But you never know. Stay tuned for that, because that will be double breaking news. So she just goes on, and the judge has to stop her. He has to stop her and call her counsel, her defense team. What is she doing? She's just going through the trial. This is not what this is for. And the judge says to her, you can continue if you are as long as you don't try the case. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, but Donna picks up as she left off. It didn't stop her. She just carried on. She had it all written out. Somebody had done that for her. Typed it out for her. Do you think it was her lawyers that did that? Because there's one thing that I'm thinking. The lawyers knew she was going to say it. They said, hell, go ahead and say it. Don't be sworn in, so it can't be used against you. And we can't read it out. We can't say that. But you can, and nobody can do a thing about it. But us lawyers can't say that. We'll get disbarred or something, right? So who wrote it out in big chunky letters, right? And Donna was reading it out with no glasses. Yeah. All this time she'd been wearing her glasses. She didn't even put her glasses on. Funny that. And she didn't need headphones. No, I guess she don't need them now, but at least I thought she needed her glasses, little old lady, that she is the grandma, little old grandma. But anyway, she just goes on and on and on, and just goes on about Katie and Lewis and Katie's baby daddy, and she goes on about Charlie boy, and she said these people are where they need to be. Oh, I was like, oh my God, that includes your son? You know how much she loved her son. She didn't really, he wasn't the favorite. Now Charlie boy was competing with his sister, competing with his mother's attention, because Wendy got all the attention, and I bet Charlie boy had to make sure that his sister got everything she needed. Because Charlie boy mentioned something about, when asked, does your mother have a favorite? And he says, well, I like to think it's me. I like to think it's me. I think it's a tie. But I'd like to think it's me, that I'm number one. I'm number one. Number one son. You know, I don't even think Charlie grew up. You know what I mean? And I think there's something weird about him, if you ask me. A pedio, something like that. Because he likes to go on those vacations, you know, where you can meet the youngest women you want and it'd be okay. You know, there's something really wrong with him, right? He's got a preference. The younger, the better. Why not do it in another country where you can never be charged? He's sick. And, yeah. And if you ask me, I don't know about him and Wendy. Do you know what I mean? Without even saying anything. You know what I mean? When they were younger. Yeah, I'm beginning to think something weird has gone on. And so Donna, she just goes on and on and on about everything. And the judge did say at one time that, you know, that I can use your lack of remorse in determining your sentence. It can be used. It can be used as a good thing, and it can also be used as a bad thing, because, and you know, her defense lawyer said something about that. Oh, yeah. And the judge had to take 10 minutes to look it up. And he came back because, you know, the defense said he challenged him. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. He came back. Listen, when you're trying to talk to the judge and convince him, or even remotely, he may believe that you have remorse and you are sorry that the events ever happened. But the thing is, he has to believe you. He has to believe you. He has to see something in you that he hasn't ever seen before. True remorse. But the thing is, how can she have remorse for something that she says she never did? So the judge is never going to see remorse from her. He wasn't. Because she flat out denies everything, even if thrown in her face with evidence. But Donna and her husband Harvey don't believe a word of it. And Harvey says that he don't believe a word of it. His wife never did it, but he doesn't realize that his scheming wife has changed for the worst, and she has the devil in her. But she is not letting you see that hate. Or maybe you knew already. But you're so controlled that you will believe anything that comes out of her mouth. She will convince you of that. You're so used to being told to do as you're told. The monarch, the mothership, has sailed. Now there was a phone ringing in court, and the judge got pissed again and said, "Shut that off and get out of my courtroom." It was Harvey's phone. So he stopped talking. The judge stopped talking, let this person walk out the courtroom, and then walk back in again. It was Harvey. Yeah. Now, who would be calling him in the middle of a sentencing? Huh. How many times has he been to this courtroom knowing his phone has to be turned off? Well, they can do what they like, do what you like. But I guess, the judge didn't really care that much because it was nearly over. There was no statement from Wendy Adelson. There was no statement from Robert, the oldest son. And there wasn't no statement from Charlie Boy. I don't know if that was allowed or anything, but anyway, there still wasn't. She had one of her friends, the one that testified with the wheelchair. He said a few things, and it was just all to do with they got it wrong and she's innocent. And then while everything was going on, he took a nap. He was sleeping in the courtroom. He didn't care what anybody had to say. When you're old, you got to take a nap when you got to take a nap. So, time went on and Donna was just going on and on and on. The judge said, "Please stand." please stand. And he let her have it. He said she didn't show remorse. In fact, she didn't show, she lacked everything. And so, frankly, the judge didn't believe a word she said. Because she didn't really say much. Not really. She just talked about the trial and how wrong they were. So the judge really never got to know about her because she never talked about herself, of course. She didn't. He said that she blamed everybody. Everybody was to blame except her. Everybody did wrong except her. Everybody. It was the blame game. She even said she loved Danny. That's a lie. She said she would never hurt Danny. That's a lie. They talked about, well, Harvey did, about the grandparents, Markels, Dan's parents and sister, that they were lying. They lied. They lied on the stand about, or in their statements, about not being able to see the children. That's a lie, they said. Because Wendy said so. Wendy said so. She showed me pictures and everything. Really? When was that? When they got a court order? 6 years they hadn't seen them. 6 years. They even passed a law. So this wouldn't happen again. In a situation like this, that it wouldn't happen again to any grandparents, especially living abroad, because they live in Canada. And even in Danny's wake, they're Jewish, they got to be buried and everything quick, get the service done. They had a wake in Tallahassee. They showed up late, the last to come in, and they snuck out. They probably snuck out first. Nobody had nothing to say. Nothing to say about Danny. Nothing. And Danny's parents asked, well, especially the mother, asked to see the boys, like begged them, please. And Donna just took them away, just like, go away. These are my boys. What the hell? Type of thing. And she kind of said, like, begged them to see him. And how crazy is that? She shouldn't have had to beg. She shouldn't have begged. They should have been willingly, joining together, But eventually, I guess, they did see the boys. But that was it. She loved him so much that she never even went to the funeral. Nobody went to the funeral. The boys, his children, none of them went over there to the funeral. That's how much they cared. That's how much she loved him. But anyway, in the end, the judge said, Donna Sue Adelson, I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And then for conspiracy to commit murder, 30 years. And then he gave her another 30 years. Triple whammy. And her face didn't change. See her face? That's how she put her glasses on, though. She put her glasses on, and that's how she looked. She didn't cry. She didn't scream like she did the verdict. He said, take her away, get her fingerprints. Get her fingerprints, yeah, get them now. And her fingerprints were being taken. And if you ask me, I don't know. I suppose Harvey could go to the prison and visit her. I suppose he can. He's an indicted conspirator, if they can prove it. But anyway, they asked that she will serve her sentence, South Miami, to be near Harvey. No, I say move her far away. Don't give her her wish. And the judge says, well, I can give a recommendation, but it's not up to me. It's out of my hands. That is up to the facility. No. You leave Katie where she is in South Miami. You put her somewhere else. Maybe. Move her out of state, saying that her life's in danger, just like Charlie boy. Listen, what's the difference between Charlie being moved out of the state of Florida, right, to South Dakota for safety reasons? Well, she's got the same charges and everything. So we might see that she's getting moved out. No, don't give her that. Don't give her her last wish so her husband can visit her all the time. You know, don't give her that. Let her last days, years be miserable. Just like she left her son to rot in prison. She didn't show up to the trial. She never showed up for the verdict. They didn't visit him. They never came to visit him. They never showed up for the sentencing. They never went to South Dakota to visit him. They were leaving the country, never to return. 'Cause who starts canceling everything and putting your finances in order, trying to call your daughter Wendy so she'll know where everything is and wants to go over it with you, canceling your insurance. I thought you were just going on vacation. One-way ticket to Vietnam. Who knows if they were going to return. But if they wanted me back, all they have to do is ask me and I'll come back. Yeah, I don't think so. Because that phone call and everything else said, you were leaving the country. You looked for a country that has no extradition. Both countries, Dubai and Vietnam. One-way tickets. And they knew somebody that owned an apartment there, in an apartment building. So you know where they were going? They weren't going to no dump. They were going to some luxury apartment. Living the good life. Cheap. Yeah. I don't know where they've hid the money. But Harvey said, don't take my money. Don't take all my money. Because apparently, when Donna's first trial didn't happen because her lawyer had a conflict of interest and had to step down, excuse himself from being her lawyer at the 11th hour when the trial and the jury were being seated, it's already, they've brought him in, it's cost the county lots of money, and things like that. She has to pay that money back. I think she has to pay that money back because it was their fault. Because we knew it was going to be a conflict of interest. It was just obvious, wasn't it? Come on. What the hell? So, the trial got delayed. It cost money. And so, that was the update, guys. That was the update. And thank you for stopping by. And don't forget, subscribe, like, share. It's all free, you know. And if you want to watch the whole trial, it's in the videos on my channel. See you next time.